Howdy folks, K-Dog back here for another DVD and Blu Ray update. Got a lot of stuff actually, and thought I'd just come right now and just talk about some of these. Got a pile right here, so let's roll the intro. We'll get right into it. Alright, first off, we got a DVD Blu-ray combo. I watched this movie. It's a family movie. I thought it was okay for what it was. Basically, it's a rip-off. You know, here's the thing with, a lot of J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg stuff. They tend to be ripped off quite a bit. And this is a fairly decent sized budget rip-off of Super 8, being Earth to Echo. This is a family movie produced by Relativity Media. And basically the story is, if you take Super 8, bring it to present day, because Super 8 took place in the 1970s. This takes place in 2014, and the whole thing is done in, found footage style. It's done through like iPhones, iPads, camcorders, even the bicycle cameras that you see. I can't think of the name of them, but yeah, it's all done through this. Kind of like the movie Chronicle. It's done in that style, the found footage style, where it's all, tablets and iPhones and things like that. But yeah, Earth to Echo. It's okay. It's not great. It has some cool moments in it, but it's just basically a kind of a rip-off of Super 8, and just. You know what Mac and Me was to E.T., this is kind of what Earth to Echo is to Super 8, so yeah. Next up, I got this on DVD at Goodwill. I just thought I'd always seen it. I'd never seen the movie, but I just seen it, and I thought, for $3, I couldn't really complain. Heart's War, starring Colin Farrell, Bruce Willis. Don't know too much about it, again, so it's just one of those I gotta see. Next up, I found this in a movies you buy bin at a local department store here, and it's an HBO movie starring Julianne Moore, Woody Harrelson, and Ed Harris, all about Sarah Palin when she came on board. For being, the vice presidential candidate, the game change. Going through these kind of quickly, but anyway, updated my copy of A Few Good Men. Got that on Blu-ray, and very, very well made movie. Rob Reiner. Take him or leave him, but I think this is one of his better movies. Definitely a memorable movie to, with Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise. Everyone makes fun of the whole line, you can't handle the truth. Well, it came from this movie, but you got to actually watch the whole story to understand what builds up to that moment where he says you can't handle the truth. And when he says it, it's not surprising, but it's like, let this guy fry. I mean, he gets you so upset. Next up, I got this at Best Buy. I wanted to get this Mainly because I am a fan of the Batman, the animated series. I remember watching that growing up. And so the whole Mark Hamill as the Joker and all that really, I was really a big fan of. I watched on a regular basis when I was a kid. But then I got this, which is, from the DC animated universe. This is Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which is based on Frank Miller's famous comic, famous graphic novel. Basically, and they'd had two versions of this whole entire movie, and it was two movies. There's part one and there's part two, but this is the edition where they put both parts together. And so it's one coherent movie. Very, very deserving of a PG-13 rating. I must say it's very, very graphic. Goes into a lot more detail than, let's say, there's a lot more graphic, a lot more menacing pieces to this story than that they could show on cartoons or anything like that. I mean, very, very graphic. And plus, they replaced a lot of the voices. Peter Weller, I believe is who it is. Yeah, Peter Weller, from RoboCop, the first RoboCop. He's the voice of Bruce Wayne / Batman in this, and it also has. They don't have Mark Hamill as the Joker. They have Michael Emerson from the show Person of Interest and Lost do Joker, and interestingly enough, he is just probably more creepier than Mark Hamill, if not just as creepy, because Mark Hamill could do the Joker pretty creepy, and he it's so iconic, that everywhere. And I think, you watch on YouTube, everywhere he shows up at a comic book convention or someplace like that, he's always asked to do the Joker laugh. He's asked to do the Joker laugh more than he's asked to do anything Star Wars. And I think that's kind of ironic that, he's more noted for being the Joker than Luke Skywalker. That's really interesting. But this is the movie where Michael Emerson took over as Joker, and he is just a phenomenal actor, doing this part, and it's very creepy, done very, very creepily, and this, as the Joker is. There's also cameo voices like Conan O'Brien's in this, and I didn't even recognize him until I read the credits, and it says Conan O'Brien. It's like, what? The comedian? Alright, next up is the DVD Blu Ray combo pack of Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of a sucker for a few musicals here and there, but yeah, I just seen this. I thought, this is an iconic movie. Yul Brynner. This was actually just before he made the Ten Commandments, actually, and this was actually the part that got him the role in the Ten Commandments, because Yul Brynner, not only was he doing the film adaptation, but he was also doing it on stage, and Cecil B. DeMille went to go see Yul Brynner perform The King and I to know that he would be a good candidate to play Pharaoh in the Ten Commandments. So that's, The King and I. Next up, yes, it finally has made it to my collection. The Blu Ray version of Indiana Jones, the complete series, the whole adventures. Even includes that piece of crap, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, unfortunately. But yeah, it has all 4 movies digitally restored in glorious high definition. And of course, this comes off. It's not really attached, but it's on the back. I don't know if you can see because it may glare or not. I don't know. It's got a map of an the airplane, as you just watch the movies, how the airplane travels across the map. And we just slide it out, and just a little box, and it comes out in this book. Everything's in this book. So we get this. There's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Of course, it's now retitled Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's wrong. And the discs are in the little things in the sleeves. Be careful, they are in there kind of tight. Yeah, there's Raiders. There's Temple of Doom. There's The Last Crusade, which is my particular favorite of the whole series. And, of course, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And there's also, I think there's also a bonus disc. Yeah, there's also bonus features, which includes the same features that were on the original DVDs. Plus, there are new interviews with Spielberg, Lucas, Harrison Ford, the members of the cast and crew. Yeah, iconic movies, fun to watch. Next up, I added to my Alvin and the Chipmunks with Alvin and the Chipmunks The Squeakquel. So, yeah, there you go. And it's the rental exclusive, so there's no bonus features on it whatsoever. It's just the movie. Next up, got this at Walmart. The Escape Plan. Have yet to see this. Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I do know what it's about, and because I really liked the Expendables 2. I know it's kind of cheesy me saying that, but I really enjoyed that movie. Have not seen Expendables 3. Heard terrible things about it. But yeah, The Escape Plan. Next up, please do not revoke my man card. Please do not, just because I own a lot of movies like this movie and others like it. It's Bette Midler, Barbara Hershey, Beaches. I remember watching this as a kid, actually. I watched this with my mom, and just remembered the story that Bette Midler plays this very popular singer, and she has and it's her childhood friend, played by Barbara Hershey. Turns out that they somehow had a falling out, and that there's the Barbara Hershey has had a child. But anyway, Barbara Hershey's character is dying, and Bette Midler basically flies out to adopt the daughter, and just kind of take her in and be the mother. Next up is I upgraded my copy of Battlestar Galactica. This would be the original theatrical motion picture. The 35th anniversary. I got this really cheap because it's not that big of a seller. I mean, there's no bonus features on this disc whatsoever. However, I did keep my DVD, which does have some bonus content on it, in which there's some interviews with the cast as of 2003, because the reason why they brought this back out is because not only were they bringing the original series out to DVD for the first time, they were relaunching Battlestar Galactica in the famous sci-fi TV series, which became very, very successful. And so they wanted to show where it all began. This is the version I grew up with. I didn't watch the new BSG, what they now call it. And I was kind of surprised when they relaunched it. They came out with they changed some characters, like Starbuck is not a swashbuckling guy, it's a tomboy girl. And they changed Boomer. Boomer's now an Asian chick rather than a black guy. And also they've developed her character for eventually she becomes cloned and becomes half human, half Cylon hybrid. You know, it's crazy. And next up, I forgot to put this in the last update. I should have put it in the last month's update because I got it then, and it's John Wayne's, the very, very last film John Wayne ever made, and it's The Shootist. Also starring Ron Howard and James Stewart, Harry Morgan from MASH. There's also Scatman Crothers. There's a whole bunch of people in this film. But this was the last film that John Wayne got to make. And it's directed by Don Siegel, who was a close friend to Clint Eastwood. Matter of fact, there's a famous story. While filming The Shootist, Don Siegel had John Wayne. There's a particular scene where John Wayne ends up in a gunfight, and Don Siegel had wanted John Wayne to shoot a guy in the back, and John Wayne, without missing a beat, he says, no, 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 I don't shoot anybody in the back. Because even though the Duke was kind of, you know, he had an attitude with him, but he gave you a little bit of respect. And Don Siegel made the mistake of saying, well, that's what Clint Eastwood would do. John Wayne, I guess, got red as a beet in the face. Turned to Don Siegel and said, I don't give a fill in the blank what that kid does. I don't shoot anybody in the back. Because if you think John Wayne, you know, he modernized the typical Western. You know, he was probably one of the first Western stars. There were some others before him. But you know, John Wayne, you know, he was the iconic The Duke. He had several other names. He went by Jake, John Wayne, and he went by several other names. But you know, the Duke was the Duke. And when Clint Eastwood came along, he kind of made the Western a bit more cold-hearted, in which, you know, if a guy was to die, Clint Eastwood, if, you know, say like a bad guy was walking away, Clint would shoot him in the back. John Wayne wouldn't do that, you know, because it was just some level of respect. And you know, when Clint Eastwood came along, that respect was now cold-hearted. He didn't care, and just boom, you know, gone. Next up, we're going to get into some Christmas films here, you know, because hey, Walmart, FYE, places like that, they now have some Christmas DVDs and Christmas Blu-rays out in stock. So I picked up Scrooge, which is an adaptation of the famous Charles Dickens novel A Christmas Carol, starring Albert Finney. Also, Sir Alec Guinness is in this. Trying to not anybody else notable that I know of, but and this film was directed by Ronald Neame. He would go on 2 years later, after making this movie, he would go on to direct the famous film The Poseidon Adventure. And this film is it's a musical. It's a musical adaptation of, you know, A Christmas Carol. I would like to this year do possibly a movie of the week and talk about the different adaptations of A Christmas Carol, because there's so many. There's so many famous ones. There's 3 alone from Disney that we could talk about. I mean, but yeah, Scrooge. Next up is Fred Claus. I've seen bits and pieces of this, and I kind of enjoyed it. And, basically it's Santa Claus's brother Fred, played by Vince Vaughn, and he's like how Santa Claus was the good child. Fred Claus is the dirty bum, and he's kind of a cheat and a liar, and he's just a bad guy. And so, yeah, Fred Claus. Next up, I finally upgraded my copy of It's a Wonderful Life. Unfortunately, I also bought the box set that has the ornaments, so I now have 2 ornaments, which is just the little bell, and this is the same exact thing what's on the DVD. I will be watching the black and white version. I have no intentions to really watching the colorized version because the movie was never shot in color. It was shot in black and white. Anything colorization that you see of this movie, please avoid, because it is not natural color in the first place. And 2, the movie was not shot in black and white. It was shot, it was not shot in color. It was shot in black and white. So please do watch the black and white version. Next up, adding to Shrek. I only have Shreks 1 and 2, followed up with Shrek the Third. Yes. Yeah, so, the Shrek movies, this is the 3rd movie. I believe it's the villain. Is it Rumpelstiltskin? Oh, I'd have to watch it. I forget. But yeah, it's either that or Merlin. I forget. I just gotta watch it. I gotta watch it. Sorry. Next up, I got this at Walmart, and it's a Christian film. It came out shortly after God's Not Dead. It's a film called Persecuted. It's got James Remar from the movie The Warriors, of course, much older, and Fred Dalton Thompson, Dean Stockwell, Natalie Grant, and Bruce Davison from the X-Men movies. But this movie is about a well-respected pastor, kind of like a Billy Graham-like character, and he makes they're trying to get him to go on a political statement, and it could mean putting him in danger because of his faith, and the way the world is today, that Christians are persecuted, even though we're not doing it by death yet. We're doing it verbally. We're attacking by hurting feelings and saying that you're old-fashioned, you're right-wing, you are bigoted, you are hateful, and things like that, when it's totally not true. Next up, got a double feature from Walmart on Lionsgate, Crank and Crank 2 High Voltage. It's part of their Legends of Expendables. And so this is Jason Statham in his movie Crank and Crank 2. Next up, kind of wanted to see this movie, but first of all, it's so long, and it's so drawn out, and it's based on, it's not based on, it's actually filmed at the real event. It's Woodstock, the 40th anniversary revised 3 Days of Peace and Music, the director's cut. This, of course, being well over 3 hours. It's about 3.5 hours. 224 minutes, to be exact. Very, very long movie. It features the whole 3-day concert, or highlights it, and it was considered to be one of the best documentaries at the time. It's a 3-disc set, coming with the movie on 1 disc. There's some bonus features on disc 2, and plus disc 3 has even more features, including some unseen performances from some of the musicians and so forth. Now we close with about 4 TV shows. Now, including and this will even kind of lead into my next update, because I'm working on collecting these TV shows, which is probably going to be done either in the store or online. It's going to be a mixture of both. One of these, I know I'm going to have a heck of a time trying to put them all together, because I think there's about 11 seasons of the show. And first of all, it's MASH. MASH is going to be one of those that's going to take a long time. A lot of shelf space, too, because there's about 11 seasons. However, Fox has been nice to put them in these nice regular DVD cases rather than the thick cases which they originally came in. Next up, I have seasons 2 and 3 of Highway to Heaven, which starred Michael Landon. Kind of a precursor to Touched by an Angel, because Michael Landon and Victor French both played angels from God out to help people and guide them back to God. A good family show, and this, of course, this has been out on DVD before, but recently Mill Creek picked up the rights, and they are releasing the uncut network versions. Apparently, the versions that came out on A&E were the syndicated cuts. However, these are the original network cuts. So yeah, Highway to Heaven. And unfortunately, they're now coming like this. There's, I don't know how many discs there is in here. Yeah. 5 discs per set, and yeah, 5 discs, but they're stacking on top of each other. Not a big fan of that, particularly DVD, which does scratch still. I would prefer Mill Creek. They did their sleeves. Mill Creek was into the doing the sleeves and stacking, but yeah. And started the next and last is I'm starting to collect The Little House on the Prairie, starting with this little Christmas DVD, which is A Merry Ingalls Christmas. Eventually, I will be starting Little House on the Prairie. I've started by ordering season 1 on Blu Ray. Unfortunately, was not able to find this on Blu Ray. I just think this is a DVD exclusive thing that Lionsgate is putting out just because it's Christmas time, and just, you know, it was only $5. I mean, it's just something that they're just wanting to put out and make a quick buck. But yeah, I will be starting Little House on the Prairie. Started MASH. I'll be probably doing that mixture online and in the store. Walmart was kind of tough to get a hold of MASH. They only had season 1. Usually when you go into Walmart, you're basically going to have like season 1 just to start out. And if you really want to collect a TV show, you really need to collect as they come out in the beginning. Don't do what I just do, is just don't collect them, you know, whenever you see them. Collect them, you know, as they come out. And of course, the Highway to Heaven, they've been out for a while, so the best place probably to check would be an FYE store or online. But yeah, that's the haul. I don't know how long I've rambled, but so there it is. Oh, and I've forgotten one. I forgot to put it in my pile, but luckily it's right here. I bet I can go through and find something else I've forgotten. Yeah, I forgot to put in a Criterion. Paris, Texas. Yeah, that's, I forgot to add that, starring Harry Dean Stanton. And who else is in here? Dean Stockwell. Yeah, movie by Wim Wenders. Yeah, Paris, Texas. I will tell you this. I am looking forward to some future titles from Criterion. They just announced their February titles, and they have announced that they will be releasing Watership Down, which is a kind of a forgotten about animated classic. It's kind of disturbing in some of the scenes, but yeah, it's. I remember watching that when I was really little, and I haven't seen it since then. But I would like to see it again. So thankfully, Criterion will be coming out with that, and also strangely, they're coming out with Tootsie. They got the rights to Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman. Now, don't ask me how they got that, but Tootsie's coming out on Criterion. So, that one may be worth getting itself. So, from me to you, see you later.